Sharpe has traveled the country and has personally visited every county in New York State, listening to people's concerns. The Sharpe Way is a show where answers, solutions, and common ground can be found so that together we can forge a new way forward. The Sharpe Way is the way to mutual respect, where no one has to convert to be heard, because you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want, as long as you aren't forcing your beliefs on others. Welcome to Sharpe Way Radio.
Yes, it is Larry Sharpe. So happy to have you here with me this afternoon on Sharpe Way Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. You can chat with me if you like. 585-346-3000 is the number. You know, I was thinking about my governor run in 2018. It was a very good run. And many of you who were there saw how good it was. And at one point, I actually had some hope that I might get some key endorsements. Those hopes did not come to fruition. However, I did hope. And I thought, even if I don't get some key endorsements, that I would still be able to meet some people and maybe turn some people. And one of the people or groups of people who I wanted to really get on my side was New York State teachers. I had a plan to support teachers. I thought maybe if they heard it, they would like it. Most who had come to my events thought it was a great idea. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go to the teachers union event, their annual event, which I did. I went to. It was somewhere in Western New York. It might have been in Buffalo that year. I don't remember exactly, but I think it was somewhere in Western New York. So I went there. And when I went there, they were having their literally endorsement panel where everyone was going to supposedly go there and decide who they were going to endorse. So did I really think that I was going to be the guy who they endorsed? No, I didn't think that. But I thought if I went there and I spoke, I could move a couple. I could get some people to see that my plan was actually better for both students and teachers. Not great for administrators. It's true. A lot of people thought, Larry, administrators aren't going to like your plan. How are you going to win them over? And I was like, I'm not. Just not. I want teachers and students. Administrators will deal with it. That was my thought process. So I went there. Physically was there. Went in front of their rooms and, hey, you guys are going to do your committee. Can I speak to the committee? They went, no. I said, but wait a minute. You're going to be deciding who you endorse, right? They went, yes. So you haven't talked to my campaign. You know I'm running. I'm officially a candidate. I will be on the ballot. Shouldn't I talk to you? They went, no. But I'm here. They're in the room right there. I can just go there and talk for a minute. You're supposed to decide who you're going to endorse. Shouldn't I get my say? You haven't asked anything. The union, by the way, never sent me a questionnaire, never reached out to the campaign, gave me no chance. Now you might say, Larry, they don't have to. You're right. They don't have to. But they're a public sector union. They should give every candidate the respect of at least responding to a survey, right? They didn't. The funny part is many newspapers, particularly downstate, actually reached out to my campaign and asked me for a survey. I mean, none of them endorsed me. I got to be very forward. Total props to Newsday on Long Island actually interviewed me. I mean, they actually sat down and interviewed me. Obviously, they did not endorse me, but they gave me the respect and they did what they should do, which is talk to every candidate before they endorse. Teachers union? No, nothing. I felt like it was unfair, obviously, but I thought, you know what? Maybe it's just them. But I began to see other things that I had been doing, other places I'd been going that were often public sector unionized places. And very often, the dismissiveness that I got was the norm, not talking to me at all, ignoring me completely. But then I realized it wasn't just me. How often, when and I'll talk New York City for a moment, New York City is going to do something. They're going to put in a bike lane, or they're going to change how a bridge goes, or they're going to change the way a street goes from one way to another. The state agency, unionized labor, will say, hey, citizens, why don't we have a conversation? Public comment, they call it. They sit there. The public goes, we hate what you're doing. Don't do it. They nod their heads and do it anyway. Yet again, disrespect, ignoring. So I started thinking to myself, these public unions, why are they so dismissive? In theory, they shouldn't be, because they're public servants. We should be the ones that they care about. We should be the ones that they're servicing. So they shouldn't be so dismissive, but they are. Do you know why? I figured it out. They don't really work for us. They work for the state, for the elites, for those who are in charge. That's who they work for. And you might say, wait a minute, Larry, you're telling me they're working for guys like, Cuomo and Hochul and blah, blah, blah. Maybe, but they're actually working for themselves, their own elites, the elites of the unions. Now, I thought maybe this was just New York, but what brought this up is I was recently in California speaking to a bunch of California politicians, and they told me the exact same thing. And they said more at a local level, they run everything. They're more powerful than the actual politicians, because they decide who's going to be the politician. It's even stronger. So my problem isn't with unions. And if you've heard me talk before, that isn't my problem. My problem is unions need to be negotiating and accountable to the people who they work for. Now, in reality, they are. The problem is we think they work for us and they don't. But I will go one step further. Speak to many union workers. I know many of them, public sector unions. And you will find often that the union, they believe, spends 90% of its time supporting 10% of the bad apples and ignoring the good apples. That's what I hear constantly. Now, to be forward, I had never been a member of a public sector union. So I'm going only by what I've heard and what people have told me. And what I hear consistently is that the union spends 90% of its time supporting 10% of its bad apples and ignoring the good apples. And in fact, in many cases, stifling the good apples, saying, stop doing so well, you're making us look bad. Stop doing so well, now others have to perform up to your level. Stop doing so well, make management do that. And make management's job as hard as possible. So be inefficient. And the problem that I have with that, and you might go, but Larry, shouldn't workers, support themselves? 100%. Yes. But when a private sector union worker is inefficient or pushes back against the system, whatever the case may be, it's a private sector company. When that union worker or workers are pushing back against our system, making things inefficient, all of us are paying. And it's taxation. So we have no choice. So we're all paying for them to be less efficient, for them to be less valuable for us. That's the current system. This needs to be repaired. Now, again, to be clear, I am not saying end unions. I never said that. I'm saying we have to have repair, and our system doesn't allow it at all. Our system does the opposite. It allows unionized workers, public sector, to just keep growing with more power, with less responsibility, more and more and more. And here's the worst part: providing less service to us. Well, Larry, what evidence do you have? I'll give you the best I can. And I talk about this 1,000 times, and I'll keep talking about it. New York State spends the most money on education per student in the entire country. The most. And what you will hear often is, well, Larry, the reason why our school system isn't so good is it's underfunded. Blatantly a lie or ignorance. Not true. Most in the country. No state spends more than New York State does. We rank at best in the 30s out of 50 states, and 51 if you count DC. And in most of these studies, they count DC. So out of 51, we rank in the 30s at our best. In certain cases, in the 40s. When it comes to early education, we're in the 40s. Graduation rate, in the 40s out of 51. We spend the most. It isn't working. We have to fix it. And it's not because teachers are bad. It's because the system is bad. It's because the unions, public sector unions right now in New York State, don't support teachers, don't support students, don't support parents, don't support workers. None of it. They support the bosses. Am I wrong? Tell me. 585-346-3000. Larry Sharpe, WYSL, Rochester, New York, on Sharpe Radio. Back with your calls and the chat after the break.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dream,
Okay, we have Daniel from Dutchess County.
give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Are you interested in indoor target shooting? Or do you know someone interested in indoor target shooting? The Rochester Rifle Club has an indoor range in Brighton, New York. Shooting is with .22 caliber rifles, air guns, and pistols with reduced loads. We have leagues and open shooting times. For more information or for a membership application, go to our website at rochesterrifleclub.org. That's rochesterrifleclub.org.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting the colorful WYSL logo or the already famous Mount Worstmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WYSL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
Sharpe Radio on the WYSL stations.
Yes, it is Larry Sharpe back here on WYSL, Rochester, New York. Sharpe Radio, 585-346-3000. Before the break, I was talking about public sector unions and how they're accountable to basically only the elites of the union. That's about it. Nobody else. And I know some of you have felt that more ways than one. Let me grab a call if I could. I'm going to grab Daniel from Dutchess County.
Hello, Mr. Sharpe.
How are you?
Fine. I was just listening to your talk about the public unions and education, and I saw that there's to be a tuition hike for CUNY and SUNY which of course now New York State is subsidizing undergraduate education.
Yep.
Being that varsity education predisposes someone to vote for a certain party, statistically speaking, how long do you predict before New York State will start underwriting even graduate education?
You've brought up a great point. So now, as we start throwing more money at education like this, why wouldn't you vote for a party, in this case, say the Democratic one, that is going to keep throwing money at education for you? And I thought, Daniel, if you remember, didn't Cuomo tell us that he gave us free education with the Excelsior plan? Isn't it already free?
Yes, he certainly did. I remember that.
He did say that. It isn't free, though. He said that so we'd vote for him, but clearly it's not free. If it was free, we wouldn't care about tuition hikes, would we? But it isn't free. And on top of that, they're going to charge more with, again, no accountability. Is there any accountability? Is there any requirement for CUNY or SUNY to provide you or your kid with a quality education that will guarantee them a job or guarantee them the knowledge they wanted when they came in? The answer is no. All they have to do is give you a sheet of paper and collect their money, which they're good at. That they're really good at. So I wanted to push that forward before I went to your next question, which is they will be paying for graduate school either within 10 years or New York State will go bankrupt. One of the two. They will find more money because they just always do. I don't know if Uncle Joe will be around 10 years from now to keep writing big checks, or New York State will go under. It simply cannot function where almost a third of all of its employees work for the government. The private sector is leaving left and right. Taxation is going up. The private sector workers are physically leaving the state, just physically packing up and going away. And then you look at our retirement plan, there's give or take 600,000, 700,000 people paying into the system, and about that same amount getting paid from that system. There's about a $6 billion deficit every single year when it comes to our retirement plan here in New York State. So to answer your question, Daniel, within 10 years or bankruptcy. I don't know if that was good or bad.
Well, no, 10 years is enough time to pack a U-Haul if needed.
That is true. Yes, it is definitely enough time to pack a U-Haul and go to either Florida or Tennessee or Texas or something. Yes.
Well, thank you very much for answering my questions, Sharpe.
Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. So yeah, Daniel brings up a very valid point. Not only are these public sector unions unaccountable, it is in their best interest to keep getting more money from the government. And here's the problem, right? If the government say, scratch that. If the union is, say, for example, an Amazon union, if the workers fight against Amazon, it's Amazon's money. So the workers and Amazon are fighting together over the cash. It is also in the best interest of the workers to make sure Amazon does well enough to keep paying them, but pays them fairly. They want both of those things to happen. So there is a common cause, if that makes any sense. If Amazon doesn't want to go under, but they absolutely do want to make sure that Amazon pays them effectively. Now, when it comes to government's not going under. There's no fear of government going under. If government screws up, it just makes more money from taxation and gives more money and keeps going. The price for failure when it comes to government is more money. That's not a price. Not just that. When the union worker, public sector, is arguing or fighting against the county executive, the mayor, the governor, it's not the mayor's money. or the governor's money. They're all getting paid from the same people. Us. It's our money. Why aren't public sector unions negotiating with us? Shouldn't they be? If they were negotiating with us, the people, now all of a sudden things change because now they're accountable to us. Now, are we going to hammer unions? No. Our friends and family are union workers. Our friends and families are part of it. We're not going to hammer them. We're just going to ask them to give us good services for the money we pay them. That's supposed to happen.
Roger, Nassau County.
I want to grab another call if I can. I'm going to grab Roger from Nassau. How are you, Roger?
Hey, what's up?
What's going on, man?
Good. Yeah, I'm the guy that keeps bugging you about ballot initiatives and turning New York State into a ballot initiative state.
I love that idea so much. Yes.
Cool. I had a statement that I was getting ready to tweet out earlier today. And then I saw the title of your show, and I'm like, Larry is reading my mind. Get out of my mind.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm going now. I didn't know that. I saw the title of your show, so I didn't know that you was going to go specifically into teachers union. My comment was my tweet that I was getting ready to send out, which you'll probably receive, was more about unions in general. Okay, so I'm going to read it. I saw the Kashama Sawant interview on the Jimmy Dore show yesterday.
Yeah.
And they kept speaking about revitalizing the worker movement through unions. It got me thinking, unions don't necessarily represent workers. They represent members. 90% of workers are not union, which means the rest of us are screwed in the workplace. She then talked about union leadership being corrupt. So she recognizes the problem. Let's not forget the more powerful unions are against single payer, a problem in New York State and California when it comes to the New York Health Act and CalCare. Both their solutions, Jimmy and Kashama Sawant, were to revitalize the union movement. However, what was absent from the conversation was the very thing that would help workers the most. You see, today, Boss Hogg, Dukes of Hazzard reference, got a new toy to use against us that he did not have a century ago. Automation. A 21st century scab he will use against workers to eliminate labor costs. Unions cannot stop the impending slow creep of automation into the workplace. Why? Because you cannot fight a 21st century villain with 20th century weapons. Time we start vocalizing what was absent from this interview, which is empowerment in the workplace through worker and community ownership of where we work in our institutions via cooperatives. Who's going to vote to let themselves be replaced by a machine without creating a new position for themselves first? Which is why we must start running citizen ballot initiatives, preferably amendments, to create government agencies that will provide a path for workers to start, build, proliferate co-ops, partner with other co-ops, forming multiple co-op supply chains via multi-stakeholder co-ops. Go ahead.
Roger, let me cut you for a second here.
Go ahead.
I 100% agree that worker co-ops are a wonderful idea. I had policies on this in 2018, policies on this in 2022. The thing where I'm going to push back is I think we don't want to start this on a national level. I think we don't want government agencies involved directly, because if we do that, it won't happen. We have to allow local counties to create local credit unions, and then credit unions supported by local entrepreneurs then support worker co-ops. The biggest issue we have with worker co-ops is not that they do or don't work. I think most people actually don't know whether they do or don't work. I think there is a cultural issue where finance does not want to finance co-ops. But if we created co-op banking, which is basically credit unions, you will find credit unions by default will also want to assist in co-op workers. Now, when you start to do that and you do it voluntarily, the people who are naturally going to push back against it will simply stay as regular workers. That's what they want to do. They'll stay there. But as some people move forward, they'll watch it and will change the culture, and more people will take responsibility and ownership of their jobs.
That's where public bank could come in to help worker co-op.
Absolutely. Roger, stay on the phone if you want. I got to get a break. Larry Sharpe here, Shortwave Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000. If you like worker co-ops, let me know. I'm in. Back with your call and the chat after the break.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Hi, I'm Alan Ginsberg of the A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group, LLC. I know a lot of you have heard enough of my ad regarding business continuation. We started this campaign in September 2020, and I want you to know the response has just been tremendous. The best part is that we're seeing the results of our efforts. Business owners who have been procrastinating on how to make sure their business continues on a successful path are starting to make the changes that are needed. Whether it be talking to their children, key employees, or favorite competitors, they are starting to get things done, making sure that their life's work doesn't just go by the wayside. Give us a call at 585-377-4720. We'll sit down and talk, find out what your business and family goals are. That's 585-377-4720. Thank you.
Securities offered through Securities America, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Securities America Advisors, Inc., A.M. Ginsberg Advisory Group, and the Securities America companies are separate entities.
Virginia Cartwright welcomes you to the 61st season for the Maple Tree Inn. It's the late winter break, the early sign of spring that brings a smile to every face. Folks all over the region wouldn't miss it. A visit to Cartwright's Maple Tree Inn, nestled in the forest outside Angelica, New York. The Maple Tree Inn specializes in one thing only: buckwheat pancakes served family style, topped with the Cartwright family signature maple syrup from thousands of taps in the Maple Grove right outside the restaurant. Eggs as you like them, maple milkshakes, and the Cartwright's own seasoned sausage are great accompaniments. The rustic setting and the scenic trip to the Maple Tree Inn are all part of the fun. Find out why families regularly make the trek from Rochester, Buffalo, all over the southern tier, even Canada, Germany, and Japan, just to experience this sweet treat. Cartwright's Maple Tree Inn, only open February 7th to April 8th, 585-567-8181. Get more information and driving directions at cartwrightsmapletreeinn.com.
Bob Johnson is not only the largest new car volume dealer in Rochester, they also sell over 1,000 used vehicles every month. And that doesn't happen without the best prices, best inventory, and the best people. Plus, with their market value pricing using third-party software, BobJohnsonUsed.com has the best price in market every day. Bob Johnson offers everything from their newly opened budget lot to Highline imports and domestics. And they're all available at one location, BobJohnsonUsed.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Pat Brophy from UR Medicine, Golisano Children's Hospital. What if we could help every child reach their fullest potential? What if we went beyond healthcare to improve the entire lives of children? What if you could help us do that? At Golisano Children's Hospital, these are the goals we hope to achieve. You can help us make a difference in the lives of children throughout the region. With your donations, we can ensure that we give our kids the very best care. So please, give to Golisano Children's Hospital today.
It's Turnbull tune-up time for the colder weather. Ensure safe operation of your heating system. Increase energy efficiency. Help your system live longer. Let the professionally trained technicians at Turnbull perform a thorough 13-point precision tune-up on your home comfort heating system. Call now for the next available appointment. 1-800-330-2005. For an add-on, call 226-6180. Protect your heating system against breakdown.
We still
Save
have
on energy.
Roger.
Don't get caught cold. Get comfortable with the best. Turnbull Heating and Air.
Sharpe Radio on the WYSL stations.
Yes, it is Larry Sharpe here on WYSL, Rochester, New York, Sharpe Radio, 585-346-3000. Before the break, I was talking to Roger from Nassau County, talking about the idea of co-ops. And he was talking about his plan and his ideas, and I was bringing up mine. And Roger, you still there?
No.
Oh, he's gone. Okay.
No,
So now I'm teasing you,
here.
Roger. Yes, I'm totally teasing you. So let me go one step further to what you said, which is you're saying that a worker would never vote, against his own job or her job for automation. I would disagree with that.
Without at least first creating a new position in the company.
Not necessarily, though. Let me finish this point, Roger. Maybe not. Remember, if the person has ownership, they may say, you know what? I don't want to be part of this anymore. I'll leave. But they have ownership. So they have to be bought out. So at least that person leaves with a check. They leave with some serious severance so they can restart their life in some other way. Get another job, get retrained, buy another part of their business, whatever the case may be. So even if they decided, hey, go ahead, automate. I'm not interested. Here's a check, and you can now go do something. You can move if you want to, or whatever is the thing you want to do. Go back to school. Wealthy people, when they leave businesses, always get a nice big check. So why can't the average person get a check if they leave too?
I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying at least it'll be our choice and not someone deciding for us, like Boss Hogg deciding.
Absolutely, I agree. This is why I like the idea. But the reason why I gave you pushback on the larger scale is to make that happen. The amount of pushback we're going to get at a state and national level is insane. I'd rather us start it locally, because to be forward, finance doesn't care how they make their money. They just want to make money. They are culturally against co-ops. If they see co-ops make money, they will happily support them, but they don't want to test it. They want you to test it, Roger. They don't want to test it. They want you to. That's the issue with finance. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So check this out. I'm going to send you this when I finish doing what I'm doing or whatever, right? But I was on a Zoom call last week with the Philadelphia Public Banking Coalition in concert with Philadelphia Public Finance, something like that was called, right?
Sure.
And they were talking about how the symmetry and coalition of how, because they're trying to build a public bank in Philadelphia. And it was about the symmetrical relationship of how a public bank can help worker cooperatives.
Yes.
And it was kind of like it's like one of those things I got to watch it more than once to really fully absorb it. But that's
well, the idea behind it, though, right? Almost always, those types of financial facilities.
Another call on hold.
They are ideologically connected. They think the same way. This is why I believe this has to be voluntary. I'm a libertarian. I think that you can do anything socialized you want to, as long as everyone's volunteering. I think you want to change culture, because there are still a lot of Americans who see co-op as that's evil socialism, that's evil communism, and they will never do it. And I don't want to force them. But maybe as they see their friends and families get involved in ownership, which I am all about ownership mentality, they may change their minds. And they'll change their minds, to your point, voluntarily. They'll have their option, they'll have the choice. And that's what I want.
Oh, I agree. The power of persuasion is always like the best. Yes. Honey to get bees, all that stuff. Every person that I speak to on a one-on-one basis, when I explain what public banks and cooperatives are, they're like, "Oh, I like that deal."
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it wouldn't be forcing. I ain't trying to force anyone to do anything.
Good.
Because I'm that confident in the power of a public bank and a cooperative, where it's like, you remember that car commercial from the 80s, the car that sells itself? There was some sales guy who.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I do remember that. Yes.
Itself. Yeah. So
yes.
it sells itself. You know what I mean? And not to mention, I've been studying public banks since 2010, more specifically the Bank of North Dakota, and they create surpluses in their economy. In 2014, the Wall Street Journal said that they were more profitable than Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan put together. And
yes, at a local level, I think you can see that, which is why I think we got to start local. Roger, I got to let you go. I have other calls I got to grab.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for the call, Roger. So, yeah, I think Roger's point,
Keith,
is a valid point, right? As long as we are doing it voluntarily, I'm in 100%. Let me grab one more call if I could. I'm going to grab Keith. How are you, Keith?
That previous caller mentioned North Dakota. Believe it or not, I have relatives in the southwestern part of that state. That state is the only one that has its own state bank. It has $1 billion in it. I don't understand why the other states don't do that. That's the truth. You can look it up.
You're right.
The previous caller mentioned the term boss hog when the bosses, because that's what they are, of the unions say to their membership, vote Democrat. They do, even if some of the members lean Republican and even conservative. When we try and dialogue with them, as I have, I don't understand politely what the conversation is about unions. A lot of them go Democrat because the bosses want them to, and they hold power over union membership, so everyone loses their individuality.
Agreed completely.
And the other thing, when George Bush, the son, was in office, he wanted to work with Democrats to save Social Security. They laughed in his face, apparently, and said no. You were saying before that politicians are supposed to work for their constituents. The Dems did not. They fully threw it back in Bush's face. So to wrap it up, probably what's going to happen is everything is going to crash, and then people are going to work from the point of the debacle and try and pick up the pieces for people on Social Security and so on. A lot of these young people will probably never see it, and those who are on it, they'll probably get reduced benefits, and the Dems will make excuses and point fingers. But the bottom line, to close it out for me, is that it's going to take a crash. We are that, when you add in the mandates and everything, we're well up over $100 trillion in debt. Sorry, people, probably was going to take a real crash to bring us down to earth. And then, as the British say, once the catastrophe happens, exactly that, you pick up the pieces and muddle through. A very British statement. That's what Americans are going to have to do. We've allowed so much corruption from the politicians. They betrayed their constituents. It's going to crash and burn. And then Americans are probably going to be living a lower standard of living. And then we'll see if we're still the top dog in the world, so far as our dollar being the world's reserve currency. I see some tough times.
Let me step in on this one if I could, Keith. It's kind of what I was talking about with when Daniel called earlier in the show. He asked, when are we going to now pay for this next thing? And I said, we're going to keep paying for the next thing as long as we can keep finding the money, right? As long as the printing press keeps going brr, or as long as Uncle Joe keeps writing checks, or we go into more debt, whatever is the answer, we're just going to keep paying for stuff until eventually the state goes under. My gut says Illinois will go under first before us, then probably some Midwestern state like Kansas or something. And maybe us and others will start going under. At one point, the federal government just takes over everything. I think you're right, and makes everything mediocre. It makes Social Security mediocre. It makes benefits mediocre because it simply can't afford it anymore. I remember talking in 2018 and 2022. I said, eventually, within 15 years, I said this in 2018. Now it's maybe less than that. I said, within 15 years, there's going to be no pension anymore. The pension's unsustainable. It's getting physically larger. by both percentage and overall as our budget gets bigger. It's unsustainable. Eventually it's going away. And people keep get mad at me and go, no, Larry, you don't understand. It's in the Constitution. They have to pay us. And what I said was, when there's no money, you don't get paid. It doesn't matter if it's in the Constitution or not. It can be in the Constitution. It can be written in stone. It doesn't matter. If there's no money, you're not getting paid. So they're going to have to cut everything back. I think you're right. The question I have for you, Keith, is, do you think there's hope in turning it around?
Well, I think the impetus that Georgia Congresswoman Margie Taylor Greene, when she's calling for secession, the red states leaving the blue, this gives impetus to that. And the blue states are simply not learning. In closing, before I run out of time here, I think your big shortcoming, if I have to say it to you in a manly way, I know you can take it, you're too forgiving of the left. They never learn their lessons, and people have said their brains are wired differently. If you're a liberal, progressive, etc., Dem, you think differently than us conservatives, and I think libertarians don't understand that. You're trying to almost in a kumbaya way. This is me, Larry Sharpe. I want to bring everyone together. You, as a libertarian, and your fellow libertarians must understand the left never learns their lessons. And then what are you, Mr. Sharpe, left to do to bring people together when us conservatives like Taylor Greene are saying, hasta la vista, we don't want to deal with you anymore. We want to go our separate ways. What do you do? Because on your show here, you're constantly saying, let me, Larry Sharpe, bring everyone together. But when you can't, and the left is just that adamant, digging in their heels, what are you left to do then when everyone basically goes their separate ways? If not an actual shooting civil war, there's no bringing the country together. I think we're serious.
Let me touch all that, Keith. Let me touch all that. I got the music. Keith, I promise I will touch every one of those pieces. I'm going to write it down now so don't forget. So the Kumbaya. In fact, if you can stay on for a few minutes to make sure you hold me to it, I will touch all of those because you gave me a lot of good stuff to talk about. All right, if you want to hear me cover what Keith just brought up, stay with me to the break. Larry Sharpe, WYSL, Rochester, New York, Sharpe Way Radio, 585-346-3000. Back with your calls and your chat after the break.
Your business relies on computers and
Okay, Keith hung up.
Slow, unreliable.
So, yeah, just answer him.
Cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Are you cold in your home? Pick up the phone and call Wise Home Energy at 270-5836. Don't be cold in your home. Pick up the phone, call 270-5836. Wise Home Energy has helped thousands of people get millions in grants and rebates to make their homes much warmer. So don't be cold in your home. Pick up the phone, call Wise Home Energy at 270-5836 today.
Wise Home Energy is a participating contractor in the Home Performance with Energy Star program.
With incompetent, devious Washington and Albany leadership and a corrupt corporate media that uses news and social to control and mislead, it's important to preserve freedom of speech and to promote a truth-based society for our families. Try something different in 2023. The WYSL stations can grow your business, professional practice, or organization, so allocate your ad dollars here. Take advantage of a huge audience entertained and informed by leading conservative thought. Affordable and effective. The WYSL stations, the voice of liberty. Call 346-3000 to advertise.
Sharpe Way Radio on the WYSL stations.
Yes, it is indeed Larry Sharpe here. Sharpe Radio, WYSL, Rochester, New York. If you want to, say this is a good show. You're right, it is. You can listen to it every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can check me out online if you want to on all the Sharpe Way cool things. I'm on all of it, Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all the things. Or just check out WYSL Rochester, New York online. Either way, it's a win no matter what. Before the break, Keith gave me a lot of things to touch on, so I'm going to try to touch on all of them. I hope I get them all. Keith said that I'm very often the kumbaya guy who tries to keep everybody together. Guilty as charged, Keith. Yes, you're right. I try to be that person. I am optimistic. I want to fix this country. I want to fix this state. Yes, guilty as charged. So you're saying, what happens when the left doesn't listen? Well, I divvy them up, Keith, and maybe you don't. I do. I see both left and right side, in this case specifically because of New York, specifically, the left specifically. The leadership is different than the average voter. The average person who leans left or the average Democrat doesn't want to hurt or punish anybody. They're following their leaders who do. And their leaders do want to punish. The leadership of the Democratic Party is horrible. Even people on the left tell me that. Like, it's not like I'm the only one who thinks that. They're terrible. They are horrible. They don't care about the country. They don't care about their own people. All they care about is their own power. So that's the problem. So what is my goal? To get the average Democrat or person who leans left to rebel against their own leadership. If that doesn't happen, Keith, you're right. If that does happen, then I'm right. I hope I'm right. But to your point, what happens if I'm wrong and they never rebel against their leadership and they stay the way they stay? Then I will have done the best of my ability, Keith. And I guess I'll follow Daniel. We'll pack up a U-Haul and go someplace else. I guess we'll do that. But I haven't given up yet. If that makes me naive, if that makes me optimistic, I accept that. I accept those monikers. I'll take them because I feel like I have to do that. Because I think MTG's national divorce idea is a whole lot harder than you might think. And you're talking about red states and blue states. Okay. What about New York? New York is clearly a blue state. But there's a whole lot of conservatives in this state. Literally millions. I meet them all the time. Do we all have to leave if we're a conservative? Or do we all have to just stay here as leftists if we're all leftists? What about those who are leftists but don't like Democrats? Do they have to create their own state now? The leftist state and a Democrat state and the Republican state and a conservative state? I mean, maybe that actually might happen. I'm not saying you're wrong in that it won't happen. I'm saying I don't think that's a good idea at all. I think that type of divorce would be nasty. I'd rather us all get along than have to have that kind of divorce. It will be nasty. What about Georgia? Well, it's a red state. No, it's not. It's got 2 Democratic senators. That's the purple state now. That might have used to be, it might have used to be a red state. It's a purple state now. So now where do they go? Do the conservatives leave Georgia? Do the Democrats, liberals leave Georgia? Do they chop up Georgia? Here's the reality of red state, blue state. All, the exception of Rhode Island, all of the states are red. The question is, do they have enough urban centers to turn them blue? That's how it works. If you look at New York, one of the bluest states, if not the bluest state in the union. Look at the map. Most of the map's red. But what's blue? All the cities. Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, New York. Those are all the cities that turn it blue. So I think it's a whole lot harder than MTG is saying. I think it's not the optimum way. Might it happen? Yeah, it might. But it's not the way I want it to happen. I like my kumbaya way. I do. I think it's better. I think if we let people be freer, we let people do what they want to do, let the red parts of the country be red, let the blue parts be blue, let people be who they want to be, let us move back and forth as we see fit. And you know what? If you start becoming more blue, you move to a bluer area. You start becoming more red, you move to a redder area. We don't have to break up the states. We can just go county by county if we want. Even easier. That type of freedom, I think, is a much better answer than trying to crack up states and make that happen. If we have an idea of freedom, I think it's the best answer for all of us. So maybe I'm naive, Keith. Maybe I am. Guilty as charged. I still think my way's cooler. That's all I can tell you. Let me grab some comments if I could. The chat's up here. Logic says, also, union bosses, I hear, take a big percentage of the take. But not just that. That's true. But also the big administrators, right? I'll go specifically to education in this case. There's lots of educators, administrators in New York State who make over $300,000 a year. To do what? To do what? Not the right answer. Meanwhile, teachers are making 60, 70K a year. Some maybe 80, 90, depends, which is a good living wage in most parts of this state. Good living wage. I'm not against a teacher making that kind of money. Good for you, teacher. Make a living wage. I don't have a problem. You're teaching kids, all good. You're an administrator? You're sitting in a room in some building, 17 blocks away from a school? You're making $400K a year? Not okay with that. If you want to really fix just that union specifically, you should have two separate unions, a teachers union and an administrators union. Right now, it's called the teachers union, but it's not. It's the administrators union, and they make all the cash. So yeah, make a union that actually supports teachers, change everything. So yes. D says, everything the government touches turns to S word. Correct. That's the sad part. Yes. Look, are local communities perfect? No, of course not. There will be problems. People are humans. There'll be mistakes. That isn't the issue. But government tarnishes everything. A local community will tarnish local community, which is bad. But now government can step in to protect. This is what I think government should be doing. Government should be deciding, going back to Roger's call, government should be deciding whether we finance co-ops or private companies or whatever we decide to finance. That's irrelevant. Banks and financial institutions and public banks should be doing what they feel is appropriate in their own world. The government should be making sure that we actually follow our rules, that we actually do what we say, that there's no fraud, that no one's rights are being infringed upon, that everything is above board and clear. We do that. Government enforces transparency. That's a government that I want to deal with. That's a government that I'd be okay with. Let's make that happen. Let's go there first before anything else. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for today. All your calls and your chat, I appreciate it. You know I'm still rocking and rolling. Thank you for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all very soon.
I will